If you've been following along with the Knit Picks 52 Weeks of Dishcloths, you'll probably have seen a wide array of knit and crochet dishcloths, washcloths, and spot cloths. And for this video tutorial, we're going to go over how to crochet the Jazz Age Washcloth here. This is available as a free pattern from the Knit Picks website, so just head over there and search for Jazz Age Washcloth and you'll be able to download it for free. Here is the Jazz Age Washcloth. It has a really pretty shell stitch on it and it's crocheted in cotton. So a few things that you'll need is some yarn. I'm also going to be just using cotton yarn. Any DK yarn will work, or if you want it to be a little bit bigger or smaller, you can use an alternate weight of yarn as well. For my cotton yarn, I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook to go along with that. But again, it's a washcloth, so gauge isn't super important here. You'll also need a yarn needle, blocking mats, and blocking pins for your finishing portion of it. We're also going to assume that you know the basics of crochet, so single crochet, double crochet. We won't go into detail on how to do those, but we'll definitely walk you through the steps on how to crochet the Jazz Age washcloth. So let's get started. Alright, so I've completed my foundation row and I have chained 42 stitches. So now we're ready to go on to row 1. Row 1 starts with a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. Now the way I work my stitches is by going on the back side of my stitches into the little bumps here. I find it creates a nicer edge because the V stitches here are going to be facing outward, but you can work your stitches however you feel most comfortable. So again, I'm going to go into the second stitch from my hook. So this is my first one. Here's my second one, and I'm just going to do a single crochet into this one stitch here. Alright, next I'm going to skip 3 chains and then I'm going to work 9 double crochets into the next chain. So here's 1, 2, 3 chains that I'm skipping, and then I'm going to work 9 double crochets into the same stitch right here. So I'll just continue with those double crochets until I reach 9 total, all going into that same chain space. Okay, I have 4 here. 6. 7. 8. All right, and my last one, 9. Now I'm going to skip 3 stitches again and then single crochet into that next stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3 chains from where I made my cluster of 9 double crochets, and then I'm going to work a single chain into this one stitch here. Alright, now I'm going to skip 3 chains again, 1, 2, 3, and into the next stitch I'm going to work my cluster of 9 double crochets. I'm going to continue in this way to the end of the row and I'll meet you back here. Alright, so I finished row 1, and as you can see I've made the clusters of 9 double crochets and then they've been tacked down in the middle with that single crochet, skipping 3 chains in between each section. So now I'm ready to start row 2. To start row 2, you're going to crochet a chain of 3. Alright, and then you're going to do 1 double crochet into the first stitch. Alright, Now we're going to chain 5. All right, so there's my chain of 5 stitches. And then we are going to skip this whole cluster of 9 double crochets, and then we're going to work a V-stitch into that one single crochet in between the 2 double crochet clusters of 9. To do the V-stitch, we're going to work a double crochet into this one stitch here, the single crochet from the previous round. All right, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then you're just going to double crochet into that same single crochet space from the previous round. And that way you get a little V-shaped stitch here, as you can see. And this is actually where you're going to go into to double crochet your cluster of 9 on the following rows. So now we've completed our V-stitch, and then we're just going to continue to do this across the row. So I'm going to chain 5 more stitches, and then I'm going to skip this whole group of 9 double crochets, and I'm going to work a V-stitch into that next single crochet from the previous round. You're just going to keep working this pattern until the end of the row. When I get close to the end of row 2, I'll meet you right back here and I'll show you how to finish up and continue on to round 3. Okay, so I've worked the repeats across my row, and to finish the row, we're just going to double crochet into the last stitch of the previous row. And we're going to work 2 into the same stitch. So I'll just work 1 more into that same stitch. Alright, there we go. So that's how you finish the end of row 2. For row 3, we're going to turn our work. We're going to chain 3. Alright, and then we're going to work 4 double crochets into the first stitch. So this stitch right here. We're just going to work 4 double crochets back to back, all in the same space. That way we'll get a cluster of 5 double crochets. And that will work as kind of half of a 9 double crochet cluster for the edges. So this is my third one. 1 more. Alright. There we go. So we worked 5 total double crochets, and that includes the chain 3. That acts as one of the double crochets for the edge there. Next, we're going to single crochet into the 5th stitch of our 9 double crochet cluster here. So I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in that 5th stitch, you want to go through that one, and you're catching that top chain and the 5th stitch here. So you're working around both of those. You're essentially enclosing that chain that we did on the previous row. And then you do a group of 9 double crochets into the V-stitch of the previous row. So that's my first one. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then my last one from that 9 double crochet cluster. There you go. So you can see we're securing that previous row, the chain there, to the cluster below it with a single crochet, and then we're creating another cluster of 9 double crochets into the previous row's V-stitch. Now it's time to enclose the cluster and that chain by working a single crochet into the 5th stitch. So this is the 1st stitch, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So we're going to insert our hook into that stitch, making sure that we catch that chain of 5 stitches and working around it, just securing it with a single crochet. So I'm going to work all the repeats to the end of the row, and then I'll show you how to finish the row and continue on to row 4. Alright, so I've worked all the repeats across my row. I'm almost to the end. I've done my final single crochet enclosing the chain 5 to the 9 double crochet cluster, and then how we're going to end this row is by doing 5 double crochets into the turning chain of the previous row. So here's my first one. Here's 2, 3, and 4, and 1 more. Alright, so the last double crochet. Then we're going to turn our work. We're going to chain 3, we're going to skip over this group of 5 double crochets that we made previously, and we're going to do a V-stitch into the single crochet in between these 2 clusters. So again, a V-stitch is just a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 1 stitch and then double crochet into the same spot as your first double crochet. Alright, and then we're going to chain 5, and that is going to be the chain that goes over the cluster of 9 stitches. And then we're going to work another V-stitch into that single crochet in between those 2 clusters. So I'm just going to keep working the pattern across the row, and when I get to the end, I'll show you how to finish that row and go on to the next row. Okay, so I'm getting close to finishing row 4. I've done my last V-stitch here, and to finish the row, we're going to chain 2 stitches, and then we're simply going to slip stitch into the top of the turning chain of the previous row. Alright, then we're going to turn our work, and we're going to chain 1 stitch, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch, and that's your slip stitch from the previous row there. Alright, and then we're going to work 9 double crochets in the cluster of the V-stitch. So anytime you come across a V-stitch, that is when you're going to work your 9 double crochet cluster. So this is my second one, third, fourth, 5th, 6th, 7, 8, and then 1 more. Alright, so now I have my group of 9 double crochets here, and then what we're going to do is connect the previous row's 9 double crochet and enclose that group of 5 chains here. So we're going to go into the 5th stitch of that previous row's group of 9 double crochets. So this is the first stitch, second, third, fourth, 5th. So we're going to go right into that 5th stitch and work a single crochet, making sure to catch that chain of 5 stitches. Alright, there we go. And now you're going to work another group of 9 double crochets. We're here at our V-stitch, and you just keep working that same pattern across to the end of your row. So I'm going to continue doing this, and when I'm almost to the end of row 5, I'll show you how to finish up, and then we just start the repeat all over again back from row 2. So I'll meet you back there. Alright, so I've worked across the row. I have done my last group of 9 double crochets into the V-stitch, and then we're just going to finish this row by doing a single crochet into the first chain of the turning chain. There we are. And we've completed a full repeat of the Jazz Age Washcloth. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to continue to follow rows 2 through 5. So for row 2, you just turn and you start with the chain 3. And we just continue in the same way we've been doing it, working row 2 in the same manner, creating the chain 5 sections and then creating the V-stitches and working and building those shells on top of each other. So I'm going to keep working a couple repeats of this, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I've done a few more repeats. So you can see I've completed a couple repeats of the Jazz Age Washcloth here, and as the pattern begins to take shape, you can kind of see how the whole stitch comes together. You can see these groups of the 9 double crochet clusters. They're kind of staggered on top of each other, and each one encloses that group of 5 chain stitches here and alternates throughout. The instructions also include an optional border, which you can see here on the finished washcloth. It's just a basic single crochet border that you work all the way around, and it gives the whole washcloth a nice, neat, finished look. This washcloth has been blocked, and you want to block it after your border has been put on. So work your border if you want to, and then block the whole thing. You can kind of see how blocking it really accentuates the groups of 9 double crochets and evens out your stitches. So again, that's how you crochet the Jazz Age Washcloth.